And welcome. It is June 13th. Summer's technically here, pretty much. Hockey season's over. This is the Whaler Guys show. Whaler Guys. There's only one Whaler guy. Jerry, unfortunately, has a very busy job and they need him in certain times, so he could not make it here tonight, so you're stuck with me. And I'm just going to ramble on about all kinds of stuff within Hartford hockey tonight. We're going to talk about a bunch of things, do a little, after hockey kind of ends, you get this like a little bit of a lull of you wait for the free agency and you wait for all these things. So you might as well talk about the season and talk about the playoffs as a whole and how things went. And also talk about the only big thing coming up for Hartford hockey really right now, this summer at least, is in 2 weeks. We're going to have the XL Center RFPs, which is requests for proposals. And I got my first picture here that Lindsay's going to throw up. I'm going to tell you everything we know about the XL Center at this point. So what do we know? Well, one, we know that there are 4 bidders for the XL Center. So there's 4 private companies bidding for the XL Center. So they will have 4 bids probably, if everybody throws in a good bid, by June 29th. We know that 2 of those bidders believe that the building is not really worth it without an NHL tenant. In other words, they're going to actively pursue the NHL, see if they can get a team to relocate. I don't know if there's that's a big gray area. I don't know if that means that they're buyers or they're looking to rent or to, in other words, but they think that the building, and anyone would naturally think this, and this is why we bring up the terms NHL ready, because the building will be so state-of-the-art that the NHL could play there. That's really kind of what it means. It doesn't mean that they're just going for the NHL. That's not what it's about. But so 2 of those bidders, as far as we know, are interested in the NHL. So, they could be more. So, you never really know. Those, 3 that we know that the bids come in on June 29th. That's when they're due. So we'll know that they're in. But then there's going to be some time before we know who they choose. So, in other words, June 29th, don't expect to hear, June 30th, hey, they chose this group. The other thing we did learn, which was kind of interesting, and it's, I wouldn't, don't hang all your hopes on this. We always are reaching out to things, seeing how things go. One of the groups, and I don't know all the groups, so I'm calling them groups because I really don't know, who's who. We know one is probably Oak Street, and we've heard that there's some hedge fund guys or something like that, but I don't know have specifics. But one of the 4 groups has NHL connections through probably a consultantship. In other words, like it's somebody who's worked with the NHL previously and has connections, can talk to people and get them connected. And we're pretty sure that's Howard Baldwin Sr. So, if there's anyone that knows the Hartford market better than him, there isn't anybody, as far as I know. So that's interesting from the standpoint that, that the NHL still has a lot of connections with Howard Baldwin. He brought the WHA, he made all those franchises come here. So he's still a connected man. And I'm actually kind of glad to hear that he's in the mix a bit. So only from the standpoint that it could help, bring back, the Whalers, of course, because that's what everybody really wants. But so those are the 4 things that we know about the XL Center. And those requests for proposals are coming up on June 29th. And from there, we'll see what they do. But, one of the huge problems with even that is that we don't, I think Jerry agrees with me on this. We're not sure if anybody's going to be interested in the XL Center if they don't get that atrium. Now, you've all walked into the XL Center, whether you're going to a concert or to a sporting event or anything like that, and you see the Whaler wall, the hockey wall, the Hartford hockey wall. It's got great pictures of the Wolfpack and the Whalers. And they really need to put some Yukon pictures up there, especially now that they've been there 4 seasons. And we've seen some instrumental games. But anyway, when you're in that atrium, that is not owned by the city or state. That's owned by Northland Corporation, so a private real estate company. They've had it, I believe, I want to say since 2006, but I'm not sure on that. But they've had it for quite a while. And, they had big plans. And as you know, we talk about it all the time. I hate to sound like a broken record, but, there was Gaetano's, there was Wendy's, there was Chuck's Steakhouse, there was Arthur's Drugs. There was all these buildings or commercial stores inside the XL Center, and since what I say the late '90s or early 2000s, it's been just completely wiped out, and now it's just you're looking at white walls everywhere. They could have used this place to rent out to stores, but from what I understand, people say that the rent is too high. So a lot of this bidding rests on what happens with that atrium, and that all has to be worked out. So that's another sticking point. But it's got to be you got to be great news. I mean, in other towns, they're not coming up with plans for a building to make it state-of-the-art and NHL ready. And don't forget that 2019, the NCAA tournaments are going to come to Hartford, so that's going to bring in a lot of people from other cities. It's going to help the hotel business, the restaurant business, and all these things. And, hopefully by then, the building will have some kind of, more upgrades. It's not going to be anything major, but the bottom line is to make this building NHL ready, you need a second concourse. You cannot have that second concourse unless you get control of that atrium. So that's the big sticking point. And the concourse is just, they got to connect those points. Where the second concourse, you can kind of walk on the straightaways in the ice, but around the bends, that's where there's you got to disconnect there. So you want to connect those second level arenas, and then also you want to put restrooms. I tell a lot of people this, and I've said it in the show a lot. The XL Center was really built for 10,500 people. The restrooms that are in there now are original from the standpoint that they're about the same amount of restrooms, and it's built for 10,000 people, not for 16,000, 17,000 people. So a lot of work to be done. But the bottom line is, we've seen buildings where the NHL's gone and played. You want to take San Jose with the Cow Palace, with, all these arenas, Columbus, they've all gone to places that were not ready. Even the Carolina Hurricanes left Hartford for an arena that was not NHL ready at all while they waited for one to be renovated and reconstructed. So that's what we know, and it's, again, not a whole lot, but the fact that the XL Center is going to go into private hands, and I'm nothing against the state and the city and state, but things get mired in the muck, and it's slow going process. But private ownership means that money doesn't sit, because they can't afford to just sit on the property and lose money. And the state's been losing money on this for a long time. Democrats, Republicans fighting over it, all that garbage. But a private company is going to let's make a decision. Let's come up with 3 plans. Pick that one. Let's go. They're going to run with it. So that's good. But hopefully it's always on the up and up, and they're not considering of making a smaller arena or something along those lines. So we're going to look into that in a couple of weeks. We'll have some more news, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of who these groups are. That's the most interesting part, is you want to know who's taking a look. That one guy's out of Chicago. We believe one group is out of Stamford, Connecticut, more local group, and the other two, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. So we're going to check the next picture and see what our next topic is here we're talking about tonight. So the next picture here, I guess we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs, because they are over, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little mad. I'm mad because it's not often I get to predictions right, but I had pretty much the winner of every series until the last one, and it was Washington Capitals and the Vegas Knights. I took Vegas in 6 games, and that did not happen at all. So congrats to the Washington Capitals. Honestly, you got to be happy if you're a hockey fan for Ovechkin and Braden Holtby, the goaltender Capitals, who didn't play the whole season as the number 1 goaltender, and had some issues in that, and during the playoffs came up huge. You think about all the series that Washington had. They fell down 2-0 against Columbus, came back and got that series done in 6 games. Beating Pittsburgh, finally getting over the hump and beating Pittsburgh, that was huge. But then awaited them was a Tampa Bay team, was just deadly Tampa Bay team that took care of the Bruins, relatively easily. And sure enough, Braden Holtby gets back-to-back shutouts in Game 6 and 7. And they roll on in the Stanley Cup Finals, by the way, 5-1. And you could see the physical play of the Capitals and their hunger. It was just a little bit too much for Vegas, a little too physical for Vegas to keep up with, and that was it. Vegas got the first game, and it was all downhill for them for that. So, but a tremendous season. It was a really classy move by the Washington Capitals to take out a full-page ad in the Vegas paper and put in there, to the team with the best inaugural season in professional sports. When you think about it, all the wins they had, getting into the playoffs, getting to the Stanley Cup, winning the Western Conference. There's just one thing missing from a better inaugural season, and that would have been if they won the Cup. But they even have a Stanley Cup victory under their belt in their first year. That's going to be good luck, anyone beating that, being an inaugural team. And it shows you, and I've said this a couple times too, it's good for relocation and for expansion in the NHL, because I tell you what, these teams, these guys, are all hard workers. They played great seasons like that, but they were taken from the bottom of the rosters of all 30 teams. So when you think about that, here's a team. You'd think that if you took the bottom 1 or 2 players from every team, you get a team that finished with 28 wins. That was not the case here at all. As a matter of fact, best inaugural season in professional sports. Congratulations to that. And a shout out to @JohnnyPremier on Twitter, who took a snapshot of this picture. He was there for Game 5 in Vegas. He was having a good time there and got to see the Cup. He's a Vegas fan, but he got to see the Cup. And I'm going to, Lindsay, show you the next picture. We got a shout out here. This is Stephen Jordan, who was out on Facebook shouting out to Whaler fans. He says he's now living in Vegas and rooting for the Vegas Knights. But you can see he's there with his Whaler jersey on, taken June 3rd, so it was probably watching the game or at the game, which is great to see the Whaler jerseys in Vegas. We love to see that, and we've got quite a few Whaler fans who happen to live in Vegas and end up becoming Vegas Knights fans, but still want to bring back the Whalers. As a matter of fact, Al Victor, the former Hartford Whaler Booster Club president, moved out to Vegas a few years ago, and I believe now he is the president of the Vegas Knights Booster Club. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good Whaler tie-in to the Vegas Knights. Incredible season. I say that for the Vegas Knights because I picked them to finish last in the regular season and in the playoffs. That was my horse. I rode them all the way. I thought, that they were going to win the whole thing. I was almost convinced of it. So the last series was kind of a downer, but I mean, congrats to the Caps, finally getting that Stanley Cup victory. And of course, now you're going to see the Cup all over the world because Washington's going to bring it everywhere. So that's, hats off to them. What do we got for next picture, Lindsay? Now, this was pretty cool. I don't know who this guy is. I wish we could get a hold of him. And hats off, no pun intended, to NBC. If you're watching here on Greater Hartford Hockey, you can't really see what we're looking at, but there is a Twitter photo of NHL on BC tweeted out this photo of the concourse area, the outside area of the arena with, just nothing but a sea of red. Capitals red, and you got this one guy in front of the camera, holds up his Whaler hat, and it's in the middle of the picture, this bright green Whaler hat. Just more proof that Whaler fans are everywhere. I mean, there's always that one guy, and that's exactly what the tweet says. So if you can check that out on NHL NBC, a guy throws up his green Whaler hat in the middle of the Washington Capitals. Just, hey, let's bring them back, right? That's what I say. I mean, it's great that everywhere we go, I just got done showing you a picture where there's guys in Vegas wearing the Whaler stuff. I went to the LA Kings game about 4 years ago. Everyone came up to me in my Whaler jersey, and they were wearing Whaler stuff. So, everywhere you go, I still can't believe the time I went out to South Seaside, California, about an hour north of San Diego, and all of these surfer guys are out there. And this is February, and they got their wetsuits on, and they're surfing. And I'm walking down the beach in a Whaler jersey, and the guys go, Whalers, surfer guys going Whalers. So, I mean, it's amazing. It blows my mind. It's almost ridiculous that this team is not back, just alone, based on that logo. It's the top logo, like I said. So let's see what we got for next picture. I think we're getting on to other things other than the Stanley Cup. Now, hats off to all you guys out there because, Jerry and I were saying, well, if we get this done, people better buy plates. So as you know, it was 5 years in the making to make these Hartford Whaler plates, going through the committees, getting people to sign up, getting help, all the Whaler fans that helped us out and everybody, promotions, Booster Club, people spending their own money to make sure this gets done. They get the Hartford Whaler plates and they go to the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. The photo you're seeing right now are the people that signed up online and ordered plates. So we don't have everybody that's bought a plate, but this is, there's a lot of overlay, but there's 400 people that have ordered Hartford Whaler plates, and that's in 6 months. So that's not too bad, considering it's tough to get the word out, but you got 400 plates. I bet you we have more than Penn State alumni plates. Hey, that's pretty good. And if you look at this map here, it's kind of cool, because if you follow 95 and 91, I mean, literally everybody who lives on 95 and 91 bought a Whaler license plate, so they'll see them on the road. I've got mine. So if you haven't gotten your Whaler plate and you're not going to put some fancy wording on it, it's $60. 45 of that goes to the Children's Medical Center and helps out kids that are sick. So it's all good. It's not a scheme by the state to make any money. It's not a scheme by the NHL to make money. This is to help out the Connecticut Children's Medical Center, which needs all the help that it can get. I've played hockey with a lot of guys that have children who are sick. and got the best treatment and helped out their kids. So if you can buy a Whalers plate, do it, because it's for a good cause. And I'll tell you what, they look pretty sharp. They look really good out there. So I've got mine out there, and I've seen a couple people with their plates, but the more the better. And maybe you can give a little honk Brass Bonanza when you drive by another guy with a Whaler plate. But thanks for everybody for signing up. And as this map shows, statewide, all across the state, and you're looking at Greater Hartford. That's your market right there. There's your NHL market. For people go, well, where's the Whaler market? Well, how's that for an indicator? This map, if you go on our Facebook page, you can see the layout of where people ordered and bought plates. So it's a cool thing. So we're going to move on to our next picture here and see what we got. Let's see. Oh yeah, check this out. So I found some. We're going to do a little show and tell on the Whalers there. For those you can't see it, this is a furniture set offered by a store in the 70s, and it's a chair and a chest with the New England Whalers. So this is way back stuff. So if you could imagine, you can get furniture. Of course you can get furniture now with Whaler stuff on it, but it might be made in China. But this is stuff that's made locally right here. And I wonder if anybody has this set. And again, you'll have to probably go to our I'll post these later on our Facebook page for Whalers Brigade. But if you're watching on TV, we got a shot of this set here. It's a chest with a New England Whalers logo and a chair with a footstool, and really cool thing. So people were probably if someone has that set and they can post a picture of it or something, let's see it, because that's got to be a rare thing to find that. that's really cool. Let's see what we got for next picture here. A little throwback to the early days. And this one was really cool because just one thing that did really cool was the little shots they take at the Bruins. This is back when the Whalers were actually in Boston, so it was one of their first two seasons. This would be 1972, so it says up there, watch Boston's only champs. I love that. So in other words, they're knocking on the Bruins because the Bruins didn't win the Cup that year. I'm sorry, this would be 73, so this would be a year after the Bruins won the Cup. But anyway, the next year the Whalers won the WHA championship, and it says the Whalers are on WKBG TV, and that was channel 56 way back in the Boston area. And of course, as you know, the Whalers only played 3 more seasons in Boston before Howard Baldwin decided to move them to Hartford. And from there, they had a couple seasons under the WHA and got Gordie Howe and Marty Howe and Mark Howe and all that. And John McKenzie, who unfortunately just passed away recently. So our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, and as they go through this tough time. But what a player, and what a very popular in Boston. Had a lot of that grit and grime. The real gritty guy who was always the third man in on some kind of altercation, or not afraid to step up and battle with the best. So Johnny McKenzie was actually he had one of the honors of being one of the only players to have an NHL jersey retired for a team that he didn't play for. So it's a little tricky. So he played for the New England Whalers. He retired before they went to the NHL. Became the Hartford Whalers. So they were the New England Whalers. They became the Hartford Whalers, but they retired his jersey as a Hartford Whaler, and that's why you see the number 19 up in the rafters at the XL Center. That was for him, and they gave him a new car, and it had a Whaler logo on it with the number 19 on it, and so that was also a little jab at the Bruins, because they retired Johnny McKenzie's number, Johnny Pie McKenzie's number, before the Bruins did it, if they ever even did do it. I'm not sure if they did, but they did that, and got him in there. So that was a sad day, but what a memory of Johnny McKenzie. He's one of those guys that his jersey will always hang in the rafters in Hartford, and people will remember him. Had some great years as a Whaler. Involved in points, game point every other night. Playing with Gordie Howe. That must have been fun to watch. I was pretty young then, so I wouldn't be able to comprehend who these guys were. But what a time that was in the mid to late 70s when the Whalers were playing, and they had these incredible names on their team, including guys like Dave Keon and things like that. Let's see, we got another picture here we're going to come up with. Now this is a cool thing. This is not exactly old news. So if you recall, in 2010, the Wolfpack decided to go with Howard Baldwin's Whaler Sports and Entertainment. And this jersey showed up on eBay a couple weeks ago. This was the original design for the Connecticut whale. And for those of you watching on Facebook, it's basically just a C with a whale tail coming up through the sea. That was going to be the Connecticut whale logo. This is the jersey that they were going to wear. But from what we understand, the NHL rejected it at the last minute and felt that it was just too close to the Whalers, which is interesting in and alone because here they are protecting this Whaler logo so much. So they did not like this, and that's why at the last minute they had to scramble and come up with the whale jumping through the sea, which is what the team used for the 3 seasons it was here, which is still the Wolfpack, but it was the Connecticut whale at the time. Unfortunately, the jersey was taken off of the eBay. Maybe someone had second thoughts, but that would have been an interesting jersey. A lot of people say they kind of like that. I'm okay with what they had, with the whale jumping through the thing. The only thing it would have done different was maybe the whale itself was maybe should have been drawn differently. Besides, not to mention that the actual state animal is the whale, but it's the sperm whale, so maybe do that instead. So I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, no jersey changes coming for the Wolfpack anytime soon, unfortunately. The problem with the AHL is things cost money, and AHL doesn't make a ton of money on what they do. So, it's hard. Look at the attendance for the Wolfpack. I think they just got around 4,000 people this year. So, unless you're pulling in, a lot of people, it's tough to make money in the AHL, and that's just everywhere. So, the Wolfpack jerseys are compatible with the Ranger jersey, which means that, they can call a guy up from Hartford, and he doesn't have to change his pants pretty much. He can wear his pants and socks that he's wearing for the Wolfpack and put on a Ranger jersey, and he's good to go. And you know what? That saves you a couple bucks. I get it. But the Wolfpack logo is just it's not a popular brand. I don't think. It's just doesn't reach out to the market. And you can see that with the Yard Goats as well too. Don't forget the Yard Goats use the green and blue, and are still doing well with attendance and everything. So that's actually a stadium shown out to be more popular than I thought it was. I thought that minor league baseball, AA baseball, maybe it wouldn't be as hot as it is, but I was just driving in tonight to this studio here on Garden and Sargent Street in Hartford, and I had to navigate a little around the Main Street Dunkin' Donuts Park there because there's a game tonight and it's an hour and a half ahead of it, but people are there, a lot of people. So hey, green and blue, it's just that's Hartford's colors. That's what you got to say. What we got for another picture? Oh, this is a pretty cool one. So this is Howard Baldwin with the Stanley Cup, and it did come to Hartford, not in the form of a championship, but it goes to show you that here's a guy that not only brought the Whalers to Hartford, but ended up getting away so that the Cup could be there too. Hartford became an NHL franchise in the 79-80 season, and they spent 22 seasons in the NHL and 3 in the WHA, so you got 25 years of professional hockey in Hartford, and a lot of games, and all of that really was owed to Howard Baldwin Sr., who took the chance on moving a team here, and it was a big gamble, and it worked out, and it really paid off in the 80s as the team was the 4th highest grossing team in 1987. Think about that, 4th highest grossing team in 1987. But that's of course when they were killing it, and don't forget in the 80s the Whalers outdrew the Boston Bruins 4 out of 10 years. That's almost half of the 80s, and you may say that it's only 4 times out of 10 years, but don't forget how big Boston was, the 9th biggest media market in the country. Hartford's 30th, and so they were. It just draws to the line that Jerry and I always say. If you do have a team here, and they do well enough to make the playoffs, you're going to have that support. I mean, the corporate support in '87, 4th highest grossing team. Ticket sales outselling the Bruins in '87. I think even in '81, '87, and I think they did in '88 and '89 as well. So 4 years out of 10 years, that's not bad. Of course, then the Bruins went and built a bigger arena. But if these bidders get the XL Center and they turn that into a major league arena and it's 16,000, 17,000, there's no reason why not stick an NHL team in there. You see how the brand's already here, the colors are already here. You pretty much already have a fan base already here. It sounds like a better way to relocate to a place where you already have the colors established, you already have the logo established, you already have the market established, you already have history here. When you move it to a place like Kansas City, or, well, I can't say Kansas City because they've had the NHL before, but if you move it to a city like, that's never had the NHL before, all that stuff has to come from scratch, and it's delicate. So, Howard Baldwin, hats off to him for, making Hartford the market that it was in the NHL. So, what do we got for the next picture here? Now, this is pretty cool. This comes to us from a member who, and if you can't see this again, you're going to have to go to our Facebook page. So imagine those keychains, and they're kind of rectangular, and then you put a little picture of somebody in there. Well, this guy, his name is, and I'm sorry if I butcher his name, so his name is Gregory Pacheco, I think it is, Pacheco, P-A-C-H-E-C-O. You can check him out on Facebook because he'll make these keychains. And as you can see, they're really cool. They got the the New England Whalers logo. I'll just tell you some about it. And then he's got the 2 banners from the WHA Division Championships and the WHA Championship from back in Boston. Then he's got the retired numbers, so 2, 5, 9, 10, 11, and 19. So that's pretty cool. Then he's got the Adams Division Championship banner, and then another one with the Whalers logo. And then he's got a bunch of New England Whaler players, and those can go on, maybe 10 or 12 of them. And then he's got, of course, the 80s Whalers are in there too. So you got Kevin Denis and all these things. They're really cool keychains, and I'm definitely thinking about picking up a bunch because they look absolutely snazzy. And he has a great setup too. And I think when you hang them, from a shelf or something, it looks like the rafters in the XL Center. So and the Whalers, believe it or not, they have 6 numbers retired in the NHL. That's not too bad because a lot of teams don't have that many NHL jerseys retired. So it'd be great if someday we can say we'll retire more. But you got Johnny McKenzie, Kevin Dineen, Ron Francis, Ulf Samuelsson, Rick Lay. So they're all there, and and a couple of banners too, a couple of WHA banners and 1 NHL banner, and that's it. So for the rafters in the NHL, at least the XL Center will have those banners there no matter what the renovations are. So that's good. We got another picture I think coming up, and we'll see what this was something I found online I thought was really interesting, and it might have been the U.S. Post Office that did this. And for those of you on the Facebook Live, it's basically the Hartford City Post Office, when they stamp their letters, they would stamp it with the Whalers logo on it. And the stamp was that circular stamp, and it had the zip code for Hartford there. That's 06103. That's Hartford. That's the XL Center. And the stamp said the Battle of New England, and it was about the 1990 playoffs, Boston versus Boston versus Hartford. And this stamp has the Whaler logo on it, and then it says the Battle of New England. And then it also lists the game with Game A or Game B, that type of thing. But really cool. It's something that the city and state did, and it just goes to show you how much Whaler mania was crazy. They like the idea of playing with that. So what we got for another picture here? I wanted to show you guys this, and again, you guys on Facebook Live, I've got a picture here of the Atrium and the XL Center with, literally a sea of people. There's no elbow room. Your elbows are tucked in. And it just goes to show you, this is a Wolfpack game, but people weren't necessarily there maybe to see the Wolfpack. They were there to get this, the Gordie Howe bobblehead. When you see this picture, you'll just know. That's how much people love the Whalers. This XL Center, the Atrium, it's usually a mausoleum. This thing was so jam-packed for people because they only had 5,000 of these guys, Gordie Howe there. So, and here he is. And it's a great bobblehead too. They put some, maybe somebody definitely took their time because we've had bobbleheads that have, almost fallen apart. But this goes to show you, look at how much the people show up because they get a Gordie Howe bobblehead. And if you go online at eBay, look how much these things are going for. You won't believe it. It's amazing. If you got a bunch of them, you could sell them. Gordie Howe looks great. He's got a nice tan. He's been working out, so he looks in great shape. It looks like he could play right now. He looks great. So a great bobblehead at the XL Center, and there you go. We're going to go on to our next picture. I think we're getting close on time. Are we going? Oh, that's it for pictures, right? Right. So I wanted to show you a couple of other show and tell things. Here I have. This goes to show you. Now you remember the Whalers plates, the Whaler license plates. This was actually, I think, a hat done by Marty Vuschek, who was the Booster Club president at one time, and he made the Connecticut plate here with the Whalers on it. And so that was kind of the idea. They said, hey, let's make a Whalers vanity plate, you know. This is actually an authenticated one, and it is signed by Stephen Rice, Glenn Wesley, Sean Burke, Stu Grimson, and Jeff O'Neill. So another cool little thing here, but I ran out of time, so we'll catch you next time on the Whaler Guys. We'll be back next week. Jerry will be here. I'll make fun of him, and you'll laugh. So come here if you want to see me make fun of a cop and not get in trouble. All right? Have a good night, you guys. Catch you later.